Got to go live.
It's unexplainable. It's unconditional. It's unforgettable. Unstoppable. So intentional. It's so invitable. Indescribable.
Hello, and welcome to His
and Her Perspective.
And here at His and Her Perspective, we find common ground to harmonize relationships. And we do it by having conversations like we're going to have today, because today we're going to talk about being emotionally scarred, how to stop bleeding on other people. This is going to be really good, brother. I'm really excited about this because I think it's going to be really helpful to a lot of people. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
I'm doing wonderful today. Thank you very much. So much. You're looking good over there, brother.
You too. It looks like we might be wearing something that kind of color coordinates a little bit.
Kind of color coordinated. You know, thank you very much. I was fishing for that compliment, so I had to tell you look good first.
You know you got to. I ain't gonna say it first.
You ain't gonna say it first. Well, thank you very much. Listen, people, if y'all are looking at us right now, make sure that you're saying hello so that we can say hello back. Let us know who you are and where you are tapping in from so that we can see where you are. So let's see who's over here yet. Hey, Desi, how you doing? Hey.
It's my lovely better half. Was good.
Yes. If you're looking at us right now, make sure that you are also sharing. Why? Because sharing is caring. Don't forget to say something to us and subscribe to our channels over at Vaun the Love Alchemist, over at Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and over at Coach Michelamonè on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and the His and Her Perspective show on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. Hit the red bell so that we can go ahead and get notifications to you that we're going to be doing another video. And if there's something that you want us to talk about, but you are not able to get to us, you want to make sure that you give us a shout out and call us at 304-60-ASK-US. That's 304-60-ASK-US. And you'll record the question, and then we can get it taken care of on the next show. So listen, brother. Let's talk about today's. Hey, Yarly, how you doing? Thank you very much. Over at the bakery at work.
Making them donuts.
I know. So we always talk about the couples that are winning because we want to highlight something that's good in our community. We know that we have a lot of things going on and we need to highlight some people that's doing it. So let's get that started real quickly. Go ahead and share my screen here. I was supposed to have that ready. Let's see. Facebook. There we go. All right. There we go. Handsome couple.
Yeah. This is Robert and Kisha Grant. And I've known them now for, it's been about 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah. No, a little less than that, about 26 years, because they've been married for about 30 years.
Very nice.
They've been married about 30 years, and they have two children, one son, one daughter. They're adults now. But what I like about them, man, they smile together, they laugh together, they play together, and they're just doing very well. And they're a strong representation of what harmony in a relationship looks like. So shout out to Robert and Kisha Grant. Appreciate y'all for making Black Love look so damn good.
I swear they do look great. There's a beautiful
Yeah.
couple. So happy for them. That is awesome. I tell you, it makes us single folk that ain't married yet to feel like, okay, we can do this. We got all these 30-year marriages popping up around here. I love that.
Yep, yep.
I
And
love it, love it, love it.
also, if you're looking for a real estate agent, my man Robert Grant does real estate out there in Cali. Hit me up in my inbox, and I'll connect you with him. I don't have his information for you right now, but if you're looking for some real estate out there in Cali, let me know, and I'll put you in touch.
Yes, I love it, love it, love it. We will not be talking about what's in the news because there's nothing worthy. If y'all know about something worthy, hit us up and let us know because I've been searching. So let's go ahead and move on into today's show. So listen, we're going to talk about emotionally scarred, how to stop bleeding on other people. This is something that a lot of people do, brother. They bleed on folk and they don't even know that they're bleeding.
Right.
They got these scars that they've been carrying for years, from childhood. As a matter of fact, let me tell you something I found out. They say that you learn how to have no self-esteem. No. You learn to have how to have lack of self-worth from being an infant when you are in the crib crying. So when your child, like back in the day, I was told, let that baby cry. It's going to strengthen their lungs. Letting the baby cry is telling that baby that I'm not worthy of you coming to seek after my needs. But if you go after the baby, take care of the baby, it makes them more confident. It makes them more trusting. They trust the people better. And so they've been doing this study called this trust study. And they've talked about how this is starting out as infants. So like, stop, go get those babies. Don't let those babies cry. Get those babies, show them love so that they can become trusting and trustworthy adults.
Now, I gotta ask, does this mean that you're supposed to get them every time they cry? Do you never let the baby cry? That's what I'm asking.
You never let them cry to the point of, like we were told, just let them cry, they'll stop, and they'll eventually fall asleep. So once I figured that out, I was like, what would be the purpose of them crying? What would be the purpose of letting them cry?
Well, I think sometimes you do reach a point where you've done all you can do. And there are times where you can't stop a baby from crying. Or I should say, it seems that you've exhausted as many options as you can think of, and they still cry. Maybe they're colicky. Maybe, who knows? I don't know. My wife can probably chime in on that. But because that's the baby whisperer right there. For real.
Yarley said he could smoke a bag of that if he smoked.
And right above that, he says, everyone is emotionally scarred to some degree. Everyone treats the one they are with or not as a reaction and lessons learned from the experience.
Now, let's talk about that, because does that have to be a negative situation, though? Because many times it's a negative situation. So, for instance, he says that, everyone treats the one that they're with as a reaction. So that reaction could be, you know what, this person mistreated me. What did I learn from that? And not let it be a trigger, because that's what a lot of people are letting things happen. They're letting them become triggers, and they're reacting emotionally based off of those triggers versus responding to what could just be a prompting of, hey, check that in yourself. And a lot of times we don't take on, people are not taking on, okay, I'm triggered by that. What is it about me that's still triggered by it? What haven't I dealt with? What haven't I addressed about myself? Because I'm the only one that can heal me. whatever happened in that prior relationship, that relationship happened. But what are the lessons that I have to learn?
You know, I imagine if I sat on a therapist's couch and they dug deep enough into my psyche, my psychology, um, they could probably find some scars. But as I sit here, I, I can't think of any emotional scarring that I've suffered. I've never had a woman in my life. Let's just talk, from my father, that relationship, there's some scarring there, I could say, because of his absence. But as far as my interaction with women goes, I've never been hurt, not to a great degree. I've had my feelings hurt a little bit when I was, much younger, but every woman that I've ever needed in any real capacity has never let me down.
Okay.
So I don't have the experience. I didn't bring the experience of being wounded by another female or woman into the relationship with my wife.
Okay.
So I'm saying that because, I don't know that everyone is necessarily emotionally scarred, but to some degree, maybe that degree is, what I suffered from not having a healthy relationship with my father. So maybe there's that.
Yeah, it may not necessarily be relational as far as, romantic relationships, but I'm willing to say that something, but whether it's a small for a band-aid or you need a whole head wrap, there has to be something, because where are the lessons? Like, what do you think? What do you think? Do you attribute not being hurt by women in your life because of the type of women that they were, or that they weren't scarred, or that they learned prior what not to do to scar you?
Okay, so I'll take the top three women who've had a presence or an impact in my life: my wife,
Okay.
my mother, and my grandmother. And then on the peripheral, my aunts, my cousins, right? And but the main three, my mother was always there, excellent mom. She did her thing. So even as a single mom, if there are some scars, I can't think of it. I'm not aware of them. So there may be some subconscious things that, like I said, maybe a therapist could pull out, but nothing surface. And and even my grandmother, I mean, between my mother's a real good lady, real good woman, all that good stuff. But between my grandmother and my wife, those are the two sweetest, most giving women that I have ever been in touch with. So I've never really wanted for emotional support or love or any of that stuff from women. I've never lacked those things.
Yeah.
So I
And
don't so I can relate because I've coached and counseled so many brothers who have.
right.
And so to the question that you asked though, I don't know, I can't say that they've never experienced pain. I'm sure they have, but the way that they were able to show up in my life has left me in a place where I can give to my wife without fear that she might recoil or pull back or be afraid of what I'm offering her. Like, we don't have that issue.
Yeah. And that's really good that you mentioned that, because that kind of is a testament to one of the posts that I posted about there's a Emerson something, I can't think of his last name right now, but his law is you give more, you get more. And so when you're giving, when they gave to you all the love, now you're able to love out of excess, out of the abundance of the love that they've given to you. And
Yeah.
so a lot of times, especially in our communities with the romantic relationships between Black women and Black men, is that they are afraid to give, as much as they possibly can, because they think it's going to backfire on them. But my thing is this: I would rather walk away knowing I gave you everything that I possibly could. And if you didn't appreciate it, at least I'm not saying, what more could I have done?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so a lot of people are still there. They're not able, because I feel like with that, I've been able to live full out. I have not held back who Michelamonè is in walking around in regret and saying, oh my God, I should have done this, or I should have. I don't. I feel like I gave everything I could. Did it deplete me in a place that, but not so much so where I couldn't go back and refill at some point.
Yeah.
It didn't take me completely out going, I'm done. The hell with relationships. I don't ever want that again. No, it made me just say, okay, step back and replenish, pour back in so that I still have more to give. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So let's see what people were saying over here. So Desi says, I went to get my babies, but some babies cry because they just want to be held all the time. In that case, you may have to let them cry in order to get things done. Right. In order to unspoil them. Yeah, I believe that.
And there, to that point too, there is a such thing as spoiling. I think you can make, you can ruin. I don't know if children can be ruined, but yeah, you do have things to do, and you can't hold a baby all damn day. That
right. Yeah. Or you can just tie them to you with the, I love when I see African women wrap their babies to them. I mean, they're just moving about. That baby is like knocked out sleep, but they're moving. I've seen people painting walls with the baby strapped on them. So, but that would just be, I think that even takes a different type of person. I think it takes some conditioning for that, because you got this child that's not in your belly, but strapped on your body some way, shape, or form, and you still moving about. Like, yeah, I don't know if I could have done that, but go ahead.
Yeah, just to put a cherry on the top, or put a bow on it, or whatever. I think there has to be some balance.
Yeah,
and I think that, I don't know, to some degree, I wonder if it would be a somewhat of a lesson, or an introduction is probably a better word, to the idea that not all your whims will be catered to.
Yeah. That's perfect. That's perfect right there. That is really perfect, because a lot of times we feel like that, especially in a romantic relationship, that our spouse is responsible for our scars, and they're not.
No.
They're not responsible for healing every single whim, or every time you have an emotional bout, for them to fix it. It's not their business to do that. Now, if they've done something to you, then yeah, they should clean that up. But things that came before them, or came, from your childhood, they shouldn't be responsible for cleaning that up for you.
Look at what Yardley said down there. He says, I once fell in love with a girl many, many moons ago. When she broke up with me, basically my fault. I mourned that relationship for over 20 years.
Wow.
That
is heavy.
20 years, man.
Yeah.
How'd you finally get over it? I mean, because clearly time wasn't the deciding factor, because 20 years is a long time. Did you go to therapy to get over that? How'd you get over that, Yardley?
Yeah, I would like to hear that, because I know, somebody in my life personally took them a full year and still going through a breakup. And I contributed it to her not dealing with it, not taking the time to really say, hey, what is this feeling? Be self-aware, do some self-inspection and figure that out, forgive herself, forgive him, and then try to move on. Because a lot of times that work that people need to do in order to get that healing, that's some tough work. Yeah. And that's some work that if you're not consistent, you can set yourself back further than you were in the beginning, because that work has to be done. And it's people don't want that work. They don't want to put up with that.
So what about closure? Like, how do you, and I'm wondering if maybe Yardley, he said she broke up with him.
She broke up with him.
So yeah. I'm wondering if maybe closure was an issue, or the lack of closure.
You know what? I tell people all the time, you can't wait for somebody to give you closure. They won't. Especially women to men. Men typically don't give closure. It's not something they think about. They just move on, because again, keep in mind that when they move on, they moved on before, way back here. They're just moving their bodies when you figure it out. So they're not into the closure game. You have to give yourself closure. You have to decide that this is something I'm going to do or not do. You know, when you know, even with the situation that I was even recently in, he wanted to continue to be friends because we were friends, right? And so it was not something that I needed to continue to do because I needed that closure. I had to take my own closure and say, okay, even though you're a great guy, I'm a great girl, we're not breaking up because of anything crazy. We're just deciding that our lives are not where we both need them to be right now in order to continue with a really good relationship. It would be healthy. So I don't need to be your friend. So no, we can't kick it. We can't hang out. No, I don't want you to call me every other day or text me and sending me videos on TikTok. We don't need that. I had to take my own closure, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Amina says people get caught up on closure and get stuck. You won't always get closure. And then right after that, she says men don't do closure.
They don't. They don't.
So you think it's a gender thing? So you think women are better or more likely to get closure?
Yeah, because we explain things. That's really the only thing that closure is an explanation. What happened? Tell me why. And men don't do that. Even in the relationship, but you ask them a question, why did you do that? I don't know.
I cannot smoke a bag of that. I will say I do think women do a more thorough job of explaining things, but I don't look. Let me say it this way: just because somebody gives you an explanation doesn't necessarily mean you got closure.
Well, that's true.
Because if the explanation doesn't resonate in a way that allows you to resolve the issue, whatever the issue might have been, if it doesn't allow you to close out in your heart, okay, I'm at peace because the relationship ended, the explanation may never suffice. So closure really is a two-way street. Ultimately, it's a one-way street because you often, like you said, you often have to give yourself closure when no one else will.
Right.
But even when someone offers you an explanation as to why they decided to end things, you still have to be accepting of whatever it was that whatever part you played in it. Also, whether or not you feel at peace with whatever their explanation is. Like there's some moving parts there that one person just via their explanation can't necessarily give you closure. What do you think about that?
I mean, I agree with that because what their explanation is their perspective on it. So, and this is typically why I personally think that most men don't give closure, because once they explain it, then she's gonna go, I didn't do that.
So it's y'all then. Y'all the problem.
Will you stop saying that? No, we ain't the problem.
So we can close the show right now. Women are the problem.
No, not true. Dunk.
Hey, please, brother James Gifford is in the building. What's up, sir? Salute.
Hey, James, how you doing? Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Amina, for joining us too. So I just really think that we need to take responsibility for our own selves and our own responsibility for our own emotions, mastering our own emotions. If you just have to get into your head, hey, we're just not together. And sometimes not, this is the thing. Unless it was a marriage and y'all broke up and you have to now deal with children, with the aftermath of that thing, why you broke up does not always have to be a thing. Sometimes you just need to just say, you know what, we just did. It didn't work and it's okay. Wow. You know, I mean, I'm serious. And with the situation, I just said that. I was like, you know what? I'm glad I met you. I am so happy I got to find out what your heart looked like. And it's kind of like, I know it's cliche because who is it? India Ari says, I'm so glad I met you that even if you walked away, I wouldn't even be mad. That's kind of like, I'm not even mad. I'm glad I knew what your heart looked like. Now, and if had I never met you, I never would have known.
This goes to the topic of the show, emotionally scarred,
Yeah.
because you have to be at such a place of peace
Yes.
within yourself that you could come to the realization that sometimes things just end and it's okay,
And it's
regardless of what their explanation is.
yeah.
And that's
Yep.
not easy for a lot of people because we're operating at such a place of deficiency
Mm-hmm.
and low self-worth and low self-esteem that we often internalize the breakup as, damn, what could I have done different?
Yep.
What more could I have done, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And that's the thing. But that goes what I said earlier. First, do your self work, right? Once you're doing your self work, whatever is happening in your life does not happen to you. It's happening for you so that you can then sit with yourself and go, okay, that happened. Why? I mean, self awareness is kind of like how they say common sense that ain't common. Self awareness is not so self. People are not aware of themselves. They're aware of everything else around them a little bit. And I say that in quotes because they think they are. When you are self-aware, you see things differently. I've been practicing this real self-awareness where you kind of just like you're aware of your surroundings. So much so the other day I was sitting there doing this and I was like, oh my God, my hands are so soft. Not that I had did anything different to them.
Right.
And I've had people say that to me before, but it was really like, huh, they are, and so just things like that. I'm seeing different colors, seeing different things, being able to hear clearly. So just different things like that really matter when you become self-aware and you're starting to really pay attention. And I'm on this whole one day at a time thing right now. One day, today. I'm not worried about tomorrow.
Yep.
The Bible tells you not to. I'm worried about today. Not even really worried about it, but I'm just in today.
Yeah.
And so when you're in that moment, you're in there, then that's when you are now healing, self-healing. You're now making sure that things in your path are not stumbling blocks. You're making sure that they're not going to take and become triggers so that they are now affecting other people. Because what happens to us should be happening for us so that we can get what that is and then learn from it and move forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a well, let me look back at what Yarley said. He answered our question. He said, lessons learned. Don't believe in fairy tale endings. Stop listening to R&B music. Stop being a chimpanzee. Set boundaries early in the relationship. Stop believing in unconditional love. There is no such thing. Women are people too. If you as a man fall off, should she leave your butt? Women are not sugar and spice and everything nice. Wow. So, number one, don't believe in fairy tale endings. I can smoke a bag of that.
I can smoke a bag of that.
Number two, stop listening to R&B music. What do you think about that?
I don't listen to R&B music typically unless I'm driving because it has a good beat.
Yeah.
And I'm more into the beat of things. But the reason why I don't is because it's so sexual. And, if I want to keep myself, I can't be filling my body, my mind, and my spirit with things that's going to have me thinking about the thing. Right. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, depending on where you are in your life.
To your point, the R&B music and being so sexual, and even movies, TV and everything that's entertainment driven is so sexually oriented. And it's amazing how that works because really the cherry on top of the cake is sex. Mm-hmm. The relationship is the cake.
It is.
Right? The cherry on top is the cake. But in essence, we put so much emphasis in this society, in this culture, really on this planet. There's so much emphasis on sex that the cherry on top ends up being the bigger portion, and what we end up with is an upside down cake.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that upside down cake leaves us feeling really empty because we're feasting on all these empty calories.
Yeah.
With no substance left.
Yeah.
Right.
Very true. So what do you think about the whole R&B music? Stop listening to that.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I mean, to your point and to Yarley's point, I think R&B tends to flood us with a lot of fantasies.
Yeah.
but not really so much reality. It's
Yeah.
feel good stuff that makes you feel good in the moment, but it's
Yeah.
not rooted in reality.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about this, one of my favorite quotes, that emotions, I mean, it makes you feel good, but emotions are great servants but horrible masters.
Yeah. They are.
And what
They are.
R&B does, what music does, and all these different things that are pushed toward us as entertainment, it pulls at our emotional strings,
Yeah.
and it leaves us grasping for things that aren't really tangible.
Yeah. I do a workshop called Master Your Emotions, and one of the major things I slap into people's faces is emotions aren't real. And they're like,
Wow.
"What do you mean? They're not
Okay.
real. My emotions are real. I know when I'm mad. I know
Break
when I'm
that
happy.
down.
I know when I'm." Yeah, when I say real, they're not, you can't hold them. They're too fluid. So if it's something that you can't grab hold to it, how real is it?
Mm.
Right? When you can hold, I can hold my phone. I know it's here. So it's something that I can say I see, and it's going to sit there, it's going to stay there the way that it's formed. That's going to be emotions. You can be happy, and 5 seconds later you be sad. You can get mad. It's just so fluid that you cannot stick with them long enough for them to keep the realness of how you react.
Mm-hmm.
Because how you react, depending on what you do, can be long standing, but that emotion is fluid. That's why I say, if you have a family member that's in it with a man or a woman, don't get in that, because as soon as you have now been, oh, I can't stand him or her, they over there loving it on each other, and you're like, what happened? They
Yep.
forgot about it.
Yep. I don't know that, man, to say emotions aren't real, that's heavy, because emotions, like, they're such a major part of why we do the things that we do. It's a major part of what we allow to inspire us.
Yeah.
Like, even the fact that we're doing this show is an emotionally driven
There's a
idea.
difference between emotion and passion.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think passions are strong emotions.
I well, I think passion is more of okay, so I'll go with the strong emotion.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it's, I still think that there's a difference between the two, because passion is typically going to, I mean, of course, there's some people that are obsessed with passion,
Right.
but typically is going to go to the higher side. It's going to go to your higher level, your higher self, right?
Okay.
Emotions can take you down, they can take you up, you can be in the middle. It's typically not going to be on the upside. You're not going to always be emotionally loving on somebody. You can
Right.
be emotionally angry, but I mean, like, when you talk about passion, I'm talking about in what we're doing, not passionate, but passion. You're not going to be, I'm passionate, I'm mad. Just, I don't know about that.
It's tough, because one of the things that I teach now, I have so many female clients that I've dealt with over the years, and even my wife, who's a very passionate woman, and who's also very sensitive. And I think one of the things that I that resonates with me is that emotions are like superpowers, right? Because they will inspire you to accomplish things that, if it was just logic based, you wouldn't do those things, like entrepreneurship. It
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Well, let me say it this way. It's a lot easier to just go get a job. But the
It just
reason that,
is like Amir just said, just from a different perspective.
well,
I think,
listen. Let me finish this point. If it's easy, relatively speaking, to just go punch a clock, do your 8 hours, come home and chill. And you can build your whole life around whatever money you can accumulate in those 8 hours. But to be an entrepreneur, you got to do those 8 hours plus time on the front end, plus time on the back end. And there are days where you just don't damn feel like it.
that's true.
What happens when you don't feel like it? What is it that moves you beyond that point of, I don't feel like it? And I'm saying it's emotion, because if logic was to rule the day, it would be easier to just go get a job.
I think logic is, well, personally for me, because I'm analytical, and they say
I'm
there are
not.
more women. No,
I'm
no, no, no,
not.
no, 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 no. I'm not saying that.
I'm just this big old emotional ball, huh?
You're more emotional than most men, for real.
No, I'm not.
Look. So I think logic is when I get in my emotions, because I'm not, this is, I want to be very clear. When I say that they're not real, it's to jar. Okay. It is not like I'm saying that your emotions aren't real. It's to jar people to go, what do you mean? And to start to think. Because everything that I do is to spark or stimulate a thought, to stimulate a conversation. So when I say that, they go, wait a minute, now they're leaning in. Not the people that was over there doodling while I'm doing my workshop, or that was over there looking at their phone, they texted it. What?
I can smoke a bag of that if I smoke. I could smoke.
Right. So when I say that, I'm talking about and that's why I go back into, well, they're fluid. They're not steady. They're not stoic. They move. Yes. And so you can't grab hold to it. And if you can't grab hold to it, then don't put so much stock in it.
But
right?
Can you harness that energy? You harness?
You can master it.
Okay.
And then once you master your emotions, you now have probably, like you said,
rocket fuel.
And I say that fuel. You actually use it for fuel. And I talk about the whole upside down rocket, that if you take your emotions and your fuel and the rocket is upside down, what's going to happen? It's going to implode or explode. Right. But if you take that rocket and you turn it right side up and put that fuel, that emotion up under it, it's going to go the way it's supposed to be going. Right. But you have to be able to master them and being able to use the logic, come out of the emotion of it, because the emotion is going to have you reacting versus responding. And reacting is emotional. Responding is always logic.
Yeah, typically.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. Okay, we made sense of it.
Right. Yeah, don't think I'm crazy.
You crazy, but you was able to bring it full circle. You still crazy.
I'm always gonna stir some stuff, right? I want people to think and go, get mad at me. I'm okay with that. So that you can ask me some questions and we can have a real conversation. Because people walk around robotic, zombied, if you will, where we're not really talking. How you doing? I'm good. Thank you for asking. And they just gone. You're like, you ain't going. Okay, great.
But now, watch this. We talking about being emotionally scarred. Right?
Yes.
And even to the point that Yardley made earlier, how the breakup cost him 20 years. It took him 20 years to get over that. Now, we like to push this idea in this society that men are logical, women are emotional.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. 20 years, that's not a logical response. And I'm not picking on Yardley. I'm using that as a case study to show that when your emotions are your master, it could take you a long time to get over something that if you were to flip that and master your emotions, you could get over the same scenario in 1 week.
Yeah.
But that's why we're here.
Right. Exactly. And so Yardley, I don't think that you answered him when he said, what made you get over it? What was the finality of that thing that said, hey, enough. I am no longer allowing her to rent space in my head for free. I am no longer allowing her to rock me like a puppet. Because and that's the other thing I talk about in my Master Your Emotions class, is that when someone makes you angry, ticks you off, gets you to a place where you're not in your square, they are rocking you like a puppet. They got you on a string, right? And most people, if we're really honest, we don't want anybody controlling us, right? So then why would you let somebody control you like a puppet when you didn't just, went up 0 to 60 because they said something or it triggered you? That's when it's time for you to start to say, okay, well, if I keep getting triggered, there's something that I must do in order to not keep getting triggered. There's something in me that's allowing this trigger, because, you just going to just stay trigger happy and just let things keep triggering you.
Yeah.
And that's where he talks about setting the boundaries. You got to get to the place where you're setting boundaries in that relationship, so that in that relationship, period. Boundaries, you must first know what your own boundaries are. And most people don't. We got to deal with them as they go, right?
we show up to the relationship still learning ourselves.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I know I did. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, who knows themselves fully at 18 years old? Here I am married with 2 children at
Right.
18 years old.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't know myself.
Yeah.
That's a journey for both
Yeah.
of us.
Yeah. And just think if you were 40, 45, 50, because there's people that come into relationships and still don't know themselves.
Right. Right.
Because it's a journey. It's something that you have to really dig into, really kind of get selfish a little bit so that you can figure that out for yourself so that you're not bringing in all this baggage.
And we're always becoming, right? Like we're not,
Always.
your tombstone is your diploma,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
you will be learning for this whole journey.
Yeah.
So I'm not the same guy. I knew myself 5 years ago, but I
Yeah.
promise you there are some things about me today that are not the
Evolving.
same as 5 years ago.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's an evolution. He had another point on there. He said, "Stop being a chimpanzee." I want
Right.
to touch that real quick because I think there is a line that, you know, when a man feels like he's found a woman, and I would venture to say that this probably happens both ways. When we find someone that we feel in tune with, we can, I think, maybe go so far in the effort to quote unquote love them that we surrender ourselves, right?
Too much.
We lose ourselves in what we consider loving someone else.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what the whole chimpanzee thing goes toward. I think it's important that, again, knowing yourself helps towards the effort of not losing yourself,
Yeah.
losing your identity.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that happens with women too. There are women who lose themselves in the relationship
Yeah.
and end up biting that same bullet. And then stop believing in unconditional love. What do you think about that?
I think that there is a such thing. I think that we won't allow it to be.
Go deeper. Explain, please.
Explaining. Okay. So I think that for instance, when you get into a relationship and you give fully of yourself, you're not going in with these expectations that are unrealistic, because expecting someone to take care of your emotions, right? I'm not saying that they should not be responsible for what they do, but you're responsible for how you respond to it or react. And so when you allow people, like I said, to trigger you, you've now given them the responsibility for your feelings. Now, when you take responsibility 100% for your feelings and you give of yourself just because you just do, like I am not for that whole thing of, how can I love you? Let me count the ways. No, we shouldn't have nothing on that list. There should be zero. Because if those things went away, do you stop loving that person? So when you love them, quote unquote, unconditionally, you love them just because you do. Now we need to make sure that we're saying we're differentiating what love and like is, because they can do something to you. But do you shut the love off? You don't. You may shut the like off. You may shut the I don't want to be in your feelings, in your face off. But are you able to really just, cold turkey, I don't love you no more?
Now, see, I don't think love is just feelings. Right?
I don't either.
So even though you might still care for someone beyond the point that the relationship ends, to me, loving is the act. Am I still behaving toward you in a way that adds value to your life? That's love to me. Am I still willing to make the sacrifices for you? Am I still willing to make the compromise for you? Am I still being thoughtful of you? Am I showing you the respect that is due a person? Am I still compassionate and affectionate to it? Like all of these things encompass what it means to actually love someone. Because
and that's decision.
I can say, right. And I can say I love you all day long, but if every day when I come home from work, I'm kicking you in the butt, like that, the words and the idea, the words and the actions are not matching up.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I'm saying all that to say, I can cut my love off right now, today, no matter what. So as much as I love my wife, for instance, if things went in a certain direction for whatever reason, I could say effectively, okay, well, as of this point, I'm not going to do those things that express these heartfelt sentiments of love toward you, because to me, love is what you do much more than what you say. And to your point, even if I don't feel like I like you at this point, doesn't mean that I'm going to stop doing those things for you. And that's where the love is, I think, in the doing, not just in the feelings or just in the words. What do you think?
But see, then that still adds to the unconditional part, because when you don't like somebody and you still do those things, you still act upon the love that you have for them, then you're unconditionally choosing or deciding to still love them in spite of how they're doing and what makes you not like them.
My love is conditional.
You already said it.
My love is conditional, and it is contingent upon our interaction. As long as I'm, and maybe I'm a weirdo, I'll take that. But I'm saying, much of why I'm able to do for my woman the things that I do and interact with her the ways that I interact, it hinges on the feedback that I get, the reciprocity that I get, the ways that she responds to me and shows me what she's thinking about me. If she were to stop doing those things right now, and I'm not talking about because of injury, I'm just saying, let's say she came home one day and just said, I don't like you no more and I ain't doing nothing else.
You just gonna stop loving her.
I'm gonna stop doing the loving thing.
Right, but you're not gonna get over it right away.
Right. I'm separating how I might feel. That doesn't mean that I don't care for her, but I'm saying all of those things that go into what it means to actually love someone. Because love is not just how you feel, it's also what you're willing to do. And so if my woman decides, hey, I'm spitting in your face on this day, then I'm not going to continue to do the things for her. That's that chimpanzee that Yarley was talking about. I'm not falling on the sword just for the sake of making you feel good.
And so then so let's talk about this. Y'all know I'm gonna always go to the Bible.
Come on.
God is love. So then where is this? How do we need to probably come up with another name for it?
No.
We're talking, hold on, let me finish.
All right.
We're talking about love. Love, God is love. And he tells you to forgive your person 7 times 77 or whatever the number is, right? Yeah. That's a lot of times because we probably don't even have that much time in our lives. Yeah. But I'm saying that because Darlie just says, no, Coach M, only conditional love for kids and pets. I don't like pets, right? And I think that I still have, I've always had unconditional love for those I've been with.
Listen, I tell my clients one by one, if you want unconditional love, get a German Shepherd.
See, I'm not smoking that today.
Listen,
I think that we have decided not to have unconditional love. I think it's very possible.
I think it's very possible, but I ain't seen it.
You looking at her?
Listen, you talking about unconditional love for yourself. No, I'm saying, put you in a relationship with a man that comes home and beats the hell out of you. You ain't loving him no more. But unconditional means just that. That means there are no conditions, no matter how he should. Hold on now.
That's how abused women stay in relationships.
Listen to me now. I'm talking about you, and I'm saying
I've been there.
Listen, but you ain't there now.
Oh no, we gonna fight.
So here's the point. If you're going to tell me something is unconditional, that means no matter how that person shows up, ain't no conditions. I'm going to love you anyway. That means if you're cheating on me, if you're beating on me, if you're stealing my money.
You don't have to be with a person to love them. I'm saying you're not going to stop loving them at a second. No. You don't have to be with them to love them. You can love them from afar, but that doesn't mean that you stop loving them. That has to wear off.
I think that's the R&B version or R&B explanation. No. I feel so deeply for you. No, hell no. What are you willing to do for me? What sacrifices are you willing to make for me? How far will you go for me?
Those are all decisions.
They are. But I'm saying that is, to me, the truest measurement of love. So look, Garthian just said love has conditions. I'm saying this. Love is a cake. Listen to me good now. Love, just picture love being a cake, and the ingredients that you pour into that cake will determine whether or not you have love. Do you have communication, effective, healthy communication? Do you have trust? Do you have complementarity, thoughtfulness, respect? Do you have compromise? Do you have intimacy? Do you have these different things that you're pouring in as the ingredients to ultimately get out this dish that we're calling love? If you're having this just feelings, but you don't have those things, then you don't have love. You just got feelings.
You make a decision to love somebody.
I agree
God
with all of it.
makes a decision to love us every single day, and we spit in his face.
I ain't talking about
And so,
God.
no,
I'm
no,
talking about me and
I'm
you.
talking about no. I'm talking about the original design of what it's supposed to be. So we talked about, the question was on the table, do you believe that you can have unconditional love? And I said, yes, we decide not to do it. Yeah, come on, let's fight. We decide not to do it.
Everything
As
is a decision.
human, but that's what I'm saying. It is on the table. We can make a decision to still do it.
We can, but
make
who's doing that?
decisions.
Who's doing that?
A lot of people are.
Now, okay, let's go there. A lot of people are, quote unquote, loving unconditionally.
Yes.
Right? Show me a person who loves unconditionally in a relationship. Now, in an intimate relationship, you show me a person, again, now, conditions. That means regardless of how you show up.
Regardless of how you show up.
You show me a person who's loving someone regardless of how they treat them, and I'll show you a person who doesn't have enough love for themselves to remove themselves from that equation.
I don't think that. I think that we have the ability. Your wife says love has conditions for sure. I think that
nobody love no man more than my wife loved me. Look at that. Ain't no such thing. There is no scenario that exists where a woman loves a man more than that woman loves me. And I guarantee you, if I came home a certain way, if I started showing up in our relationship a certain way, or refusing and failing to show up in our relationship in a certain way, pop go to weasel.
But we're not talking about if she made a decision to not be with you. That love still has to win. Her love for you, the emotion, the decision, she can change her mind.
You're talking R&B.
That's
again.
because she's made a decision to put the conditions on it.
You're talking about R&B again.
No. I'm talking about the original design of what love is supposed to be. Period. Y'all know I'm gonna always go with what the word of God.
And what does the word say? Love is work. Love is work. Love ain't just feelings.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm definitely not saying they're just feelings.
Okay.
I'm all for their decisions, but in the decision, we still have the decision factor in that to decide to love them or not. I am not saying that we don't make the decisions to do so. What I'm simply saying is it's possible. We decide not to do it.
So you're saying the potential exists?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
the question wasn't a question.
An egg has all kinds of potential, but if you never crack the shell, you'll never be able to scramble it.
No. But you still know it can be scrambled. That's the whole thing.
It can be scrambled. It can grow into a chicken.
Scrambled.
But you got to do something in order to get the production out of that egg.
Exactly.
And I'm saying, I guarantee you have never seen an expression outside of what we may think God has done for the world. Outside of that, I'm talking about human to human. You have never seen an expression of unconditional love.
Not true.
Outside of what we feel for our children.
Not true.
Name it.
Not true.
Name him.
They ain't here. So if I told you their names, you're not gonna know. So it's
I need them. I need them on the show next week.
Okay, I'm gonna go find their casket because I'm talking about it is on the table. It is a possibility for it to happen. We choose not to do it. Okay. For instance, I'll give you this. I feel this way. The Bible says that we were born into sin and shaped into iniquity. Right. That simply means we were born with a propensity to do anything we want to. We could be rapists, we could be child molesters, we could be terrorists, we can be murderers, we can be the most kindest people, we can be the most loving people, we can be and do whatever we desire. But we make the decisions with our free will to do with it what we choose.
Yes.
And in that decision, we choose not to unconditionally love. The question was, is it possible to unconditionally love? And I'm going to still stand with yes, it's possible. Do we do it? No.
I think, have you ever gone fishing before?
Because I don't like worms.
Picture this. Picture trying to catch a fish with your bare hands. You understand how slippery and how elusive that fish is as you try your best with all your might to grip that fish with your bare hands. It might be possible to overpower one of these fish if he's small enough, if he's not fully developed. You might be able to do that. But I'm saying that trying to love someone unconditionally is like trying to hold on to that slippery fish that wants to get away from you. If you have a person that wants to be away from you, but you're still trying to love them unconditionally, despite the fact that they're trying to get the hell away from you, I'm saying that is an exercise in poor mental health. Because let me put the cherry.
But why is that? Why? Tell me this. Go ahead. Put your cherry on top.
Because love is not just feelings. Love is feelings plus action.
A decision.
Yeah, all that. I said actions. You got to decide before you act. Right?
So you decide not to do it.
Yeah.
That's the free will that you have. That does not mean that it's not possible.
Can you love somebody who's away from you, who's trying their best to get away from you?
Yes, you can. But you have to make okay. That's what we talked about at the top of this whole thing when we was talking about.
So you're arguing theory, the theoretical aspect of it. Oh, okay.
It is possible.
Theoretically, it's possible, but I ain't never.
We don't do it. We make the decision not to do it. The question was, is it possible to unconditionally love?
Let's dig into it. Why do we make that decision? I'll tell you why.
I think it's out of selfishness.
It is out of selfishness. You know why? Because self-preservation is the first law of nature.
So is God not self-preserving himself?
Yeah, I think so. What did the Bible say? God is a jealous God, right?
No. God loves us unconditionally, in spite of us spitting in his face on a regular basis. So are you telling me?
I don't want to have.
I'm always going. You know I'm gonna always go into the word of God is absolute and is pure.
So can you go to hell? Can you go to hell? Can you go to hell?
You can go to hell, but it's by your own. It's by your own.
But wait a minute now. You just said God is going to love me regardless, unconditionally.
And if he gives us the leeway to say these are the things that you must do.
Come on now.
He does not say I stop loving you because of it.
You can't love me and burn me.
No. Consequences, like I agree with what Garthian said, that anyone has propensity, but there are consequences. I believe there's consequences, but that doesn't mean that you stop loving somebody because there's consequences. We have consequences all the time. If for those who got whoopings, you got your butt whooped, but it doesn't mean that your mother didn't love you. You have consequences for the things that you did, but that does not take your love away.
Even God's love is conditional.
I don't think so.
And here's how you know it's true. Here's how you know that it's true. Because if you don't do the things that are outlined, don't interrupt, listen. If you don't do the things that are outlined, you just told me you'll burn for all eternity.
Consequences.
Yeah, I'm saying again, the only way you're going to continue to receive the extended blessings beyond death is if you did what you were supposed to do. That's conditional.
The word of God says nothing, nor not high, not low, nor mountains, nor valleys can take the love of God from you. That's the word of God.
So he's gonna love you in hell. He's gonna love you in hell.
He's gonna love you in hell.
All right. Well, so then that's the emotional part of it. God will still have fond feelings of you, but the actions mean your ass got to burn. You have consequences to your actions. All right. Well, there you go. There it is. I disagree, but I hear you.
I just believe that it can be on the table. We can do what we want to do. We decide not to do it. It's simple as that. Just we decide to be with somebody or we decide not to be with them. We decide to rock with them. We decide not to rock with them. We make those decisions. We do
You
what
make
we want
healthy
to do.
decisions for reasons of self-preservation.
So are you telling me that God is preserving himself, is not preserving himself?
God is preserving the kingdom of heaven from your scornful, sinful ass. So, since you didn't do what he had said, down you go.
He didn't want his streets of gold to be all dirtied up.
You coming up here with muddy feet. You ain't walking on the yellow brick road with all that dirt on your feet.
Listen, man.
Go
Listen.
ahead. Look,
Anyway, what y'all saying over there? Y'all sit here and watch us brothers and sisters up here arguing. What we say over here? Anyway, it's still possible. Yeah, Amina said it too.
Yeah, all right. It's possible. All right.
So he says, so you're saying since there aren't anything standards you see, of course, you set standards. This is okay. Let me be very clear. Because y'all apparently don't know who y'all listening to, right?
You have standards.
No. Y'all have to know your girl is going to have standards. I am not saying that you stay with someone because when they are abusing you. I am saying that does not take away your love for them. That has to wean. That's going to take some time. People don't walk away from an abusive relationship because they're hoping that person will come around.
Boom.
Those are low self-esteem issues that are in there. However, there's still some things, even when you walk away with your standards, that you don't just walk away and not love them. You still have those things that you must work through, which is hence why the coaches are here to help you work through those issues. Because if the people could walk away and not love, not care, what we here for?
I hear you.
It's possible to unconditionally love. We choose not to.
I think a lot of things, I guess, are theoretically possible, but I don't see it happening. I think that the only times you see people loving, regardless of the conditions, regardless of the standards, when you see those expressions of continued love, regardless of, then you're typically dealing with someone who is suffering from some level of emotional well-being, some lack of emotional well-being, emotional health.
Just because you love somebody.
I ain't talking about you talking about
you are loving somebody.
Things you're talking about feelings, and I'm talking about actions.
No,
I don't think you have love without action. I think those two things are symbiotic. Love and actions of love, they are
so do you not think, for instance, give you a perfect example, when you're dealing with somebody who's addicted to something, I don't care if it's sex, drugs, gambling, pornography, whatever their addiction is, there are boundaries that you must place.
Yeah.
Setting boundaries does not mean that you don't love them.
Right.
Or it doesn't mean that you do love them. It just means you setting the boundaries. In the place where you're loving somebody and you're setting those boundaries, you still have to set the boundaries. And some of that means that you're going to have to close the door on their face while you're crying and they're on the other side saying, let me in. Yeah. That does not mean that you stop loving them. I guess my thing is,
I don't disagree with that.
When you say there's conditions to love, then you're saying that when you make the decision to love somebody, it can just change when you change your mind. I have a challenge with that because I think that's not how that works. You don't just change your mind.
That's exactly how it works. Exactly how it works.
So then tell me, how can you say that? Doesn't make sense to me. Because again, I'm looking at what love is. Love is God. He does not do that to us.
Make it tangible. What do you mean love is God? What give me something, because we can do all
we live in it every single day.
We can do make all kinds of abstract statements that are untouchable.
What is God? God is righteous. God is pure. God has wrath. He gets angry, but that doesn't mean that Love is Lot's wife shouldn't have turned to salt.
Okay, let's go there. Lot's
So
wife,
then Lot's wife turned to salt.
because
As a consequence. That
of
doesn't
what?
mean that he didn't love Lot's wife.
Okay, so I mean, to me, that's the perfect example. There were conditions upon which Lot, let me finish. There were conditions upon which Lot would have been able to continue on this path, receiving God's blessings. The moment, hold on, the moment she said, I ain't studying you, God, and she turned around, took that peek, bam, pop go the weasel. I say pop go the weasel.
But there's a consequence. There's a different. Okay, let's talk about it, because it's consequences and conditions. What's the difference? Consequences, to me, I don't think that you have consequences for things good, but you can have conditions for things good.
Consequences is not a bad word. Not necessarily. We make a correlation that consequences are necessarily good or bad, but consequences are really just results. It's synonymous with results. So you can have good consequences.
Tell me what good consequences you ever had.
I'm saying me eating good, me eating healthy food, the consequence of that is synonymous with results. So the consequence of me eating healthy means that I'm going to tote a healthy body.
Yes.
Consequence is not a bad word. Yeah, consequence is not a bad word. It's a synonym that we tend to associate with something bad. But consequence in and of itself does not necessarily mean a bad thing.
Okay, so then tell me conditions.
You almost made me cuss. Conditions really are not very different. I mean, look, conditions are standards. How about that? Conditions is a set of standards that if these conditions are met, then these will be the continued outcomes. Let's talk as far as it pertains to how we love and interact with one another, right? So as long as I keep showing up in a certain way, or as long as you keep showing up, look, the conditions of our continued arrangement here on this show. If I stop showing up on Sunday on time, you'd find another co-host or quit the show or whatever. Like, you wouldn't continue to sustain, or you'd move on without me. Whatever it is, I'm saying it's conditional. The moment I stop showing up as agreed, you out. Pop go to weasel.
That don't mean okay. The propensity of his or her perspective will still continue. It doesn't mean that
because just be her perspective.
No. Listen, the his and her.
See the dictionary definition.
No, the his and her, whether it be me or you, because you could get, it could be me or you. The his and her perspective show is still the his and her perspective show, regardless of who's there. We make the choices of who's not going to be there, who's going to be there.
Yeah.
I'm just simply saying that it is possible. We make the choice to not do it. That's all that I'm saying.
Yeah, I never disagreed with the fact that it's a choice. And what I'm saying, though, is that the likelihood or the probability of a choice being made that is self-destructive, because that's what it means to love someone unconditionally. Like, no matter how I'm treating you, you're going to continue to love me. That is self-destructive.
It is possible if you love yourself. And again, this comes out. We started this whole conversation off on the top of the hour with self-awareness and knowing who you are and knowing whose you are, right?
Okay.
If you have that love, if you have love within yourself that is an overflow, you can choose to love somebody and still love them in spite of what they're doing. That does not mean that you need to stand in the room and have eggs thrown at you. That does not mean that you don't love them because the eggs are thrown at you. I'm simply saying that we have the propensity to still do it. We choose not to. Yeah. The whole question that was on the table is it possible? Yeah. And I say yes. We choose not to do it.
Yes, we choose not to do it. What I'm saying is, though it is possible, it does not exist. That's what I'm saying.
That ain't what the question was.
That was what I said at the top. Show me an example. And I'm saying the reason you can't show me one is because the only place that unconditional love exists is in theory.
No, I
That's
don't
what I'm
think
saying. Like show me a living, breathing, tangible example of unconditional love, and you can't.
I don't believe in fairy tale endings, Yarly.
Get
So,
off
no,
my
not
co-host. I ain't
true.
gonna let you. I ain't gonna let-
Yeah, because he keep on coming for me. I'm bust you in the head.
Look, I get you too, y'all. You can't get on my co-host. But
I just think that I'm not saying, I do know of a person who is not with us any longer, who unconditionally loves someone that y'all ain't gonna know if I mentioned the person anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Right,
The
right.
point that I'm making is simply this. I believe that it's possible. And in order to believe that in order for you to have a purity in love, that you have to believe it's possible. We make the choice to not do it.
Let's go with that. And let's just say, for the sake of closure to this particular point, let's say it's possible, right?
That's all I'm saying.
Hold on. Let's say for the sake of closure on this particular topic, that unconditional love is possible. I will say that it would be ill-advised. Right? Listen to me good now. Listen to me good. It would be ill-advised for you to show up in any relationship thinking that someone is going to love you regardless. I'm saying you will not find that. Is it possible theoretically that you could maybe somehow find that under some rock somewhere? Yeah, I bet. But I'm saying the chances of you finding that,
it's possible.
I ain't seen it. That's my best English. I ain't never seen it nowhere.
It is possible. Garthian says, I believe maybe the word unconditional may be the incorrect word. Maybe it's more about the time after the conditions are not met. It's the time between love and not loving. I could smoke a bag of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't listen to R&B, Yardley. I would get him.
Look, we've been fighting this whole show.
We fought the whole show, but look, we had people laughing at us and everything. Listen, y'all know we can't be agreeing all the time.
And sometimes I think we just have to come to the conclusion that sometimes Coach Michelle is just wrong. Sometimes she is one of the greatest coaches on earth, but disagreeing with me is just not good.
It's not right.
What did my lovely wife say down there? Unconditional love can't exist because there is no such thing as unconditional attraction. Wow. We are attracted to certain people based on certain conditions that must be in place, and thus we love on certain conditions as God. Where the mic? If I could drop this mic,
you know what? Desi, I will smoke a bag of that, and I don't smoke. Now I will smoke the whole bag by myself. Now let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Because she used the word attraction. Now, if we'd have said unconditional attraction, I'd have been like, nah, bruh, we out.
Now,
right?
See now, okay. Boy, if that ain't a mic drop, I don't know what it is.
That was a mic drop. Go ahead, drop your mic. Because I smoke a bag of that. Yeah. But that love and attraction is the two different things, because you don't have to be in love with somebody that you're attracted to. Now that's lust.
For sure. But you have to, but to the point that she just made, there has to be an attraction for you to continue to love. There has to be some level of attraction.
No, I don't think that could. Now that's a whole nother story. We're gonna we need to go.
Listen now, because love is, again, I'm not separating love from action. There has to be something that motivates you to action. There has to be something.
I agree with that. Because it's part of a decision.
And attraction
does not mean that it's not possible. We have been arguing this thing out of the whole possibility, and it not. The question was, is it possible? Is it possible for man to walk on water? Yeah, all right. Yeah, maybe, but we ain't seen it, and I don't know that we'll ever see it in this lifetime. It's the word. The word. Yeah. So I'm saying, he walked on water. He sunk when he stopped looking at the Lord. And I'm saying again that the theoretical aspect of the things that might be possible is one conversation, but the actual application of what takes place in this realm of reality, you don't find unconditional love. That being said, that be the will. That's fine. I'm saying, that being said,
Don't take your ass, people. Don't take your ass into a relationship talking about love me regardless.
Believe it.
You believe in your heart with all you want or with all your might. You know what I mean? But I'm saying when you show up, you better show up with some tangibles. You dig? Because the moment you stop showing up and the moment you start teetering these conditions, Garthian said, Pass, me and you gonna smoke that bag, Garthian, because I can't share with Coach Michelle. She already high. I can't.
I ain't giving you no more of my stuff.
Hey, family, look, let's close it out.
Listen, we've been on here arguing a whole 50 minutes, y'all. Anyway, this is good because I still believe it's possible. We choose not to be. It's possible for us to use 100% of our brains. Do we? No. It's possible.
Yeah.
If we wouldn't have them. It's possible.
I think it's more possible. I think you will find a man or a woman who will likely use 100% of their brain before you find someone who is willing to love you unconditionally.
Repeat that.
You will find someone who's able to use their brain to full capacity, 100%, before you find someone to love you unconditionally.
And that's really sad, though. Because
you will find
decided not to do it.
You will find someone to walk on water before you find somebody that's going to love you unconditionally.
Christ loves you unconditionally.
All right.
He does.
Look back and see what
happens.
The
Lord loves you.
Look back and see what happens. And you will turn to stone. Or
the Lord loves you, and so do I.
All right, family. Good. Closing out, Coach.
Listen, y'all, we have had fun. Y'all know we done had up in here. Y'all done gave us some good comments. Desi over here dropping bombs. Yarly over here short being shady, but that's okay. We gonna be okay. Garthian got my back. Sometimes Garthian got his back. Amin over here got my back. Y'all loving on us. We love on y'all. Listen, we thank you so much. Make sure that you go ahead and love on our pages. Coach Vaun, the Love Alchemist, over at YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Coach Michelamonè on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Make sure that you please go over to our YouTube page at the His and Her Perspective Show. Subscribe to our channel and hit the red bell so that you can get notification of any of the videos we're going to have going up. Make sure that you also, we have a class coming up this coming Sunday called Boss Chicks Die Alone, how to find the man of your dreams without losing yourself, and find them so that you don't have to unconditionally love them.
Hey, look, regardless of this argument, the love will still flow on this show.
All the time.
That's what's up. So, hey, look, y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. And for that, we are eternally thankful.
We love y'all. Bye. Unconditionally.
Look, you keep showing up. I love you. You stop showing up. Watch what happens. See what happens.